Hello, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Ariba and I'll be teaching commerce for O levels here at Outclass. The course code is 7100. A quick preview of your exam structure. So in your final exams, you'll get two papers, paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 consists of multiple choice questions. You'll get 40 MCQs, no choice, all have to be solved and they'll be for 40 marks. You get 1 hour to attempt the paper and this paper has a 30% weightage in the total exam. Paper 2 will have written structured questions. All have to be attempted, no choice. It is a 80 marks paper. You will get 2 hours to attempt the paper and the paper holds 70% weightage. Watch out for these 4 icons in the upcoming episodes. If you see the definition icon, this means an important definition is being discussed, and I would suggest you to keep a notebook and a pen along so that whenever I mention something important, you can write it down so that a night before your exam, you can just refer to the important definitions and the key concepts that have been discussed so that you will not have to open your book or go through all the slides a night before your exam. You'll know that the important definitions and the key concepts have been written down in your notebook which you can refer to before your exam. So if you see this icon, this means that a past paper question has been tested on the concept being discussed, and if you see this sign, this means a common mistake that the students often repeat and you should avoid if you want to score high. In this course, we'll be covering 15 topics which are very interesting and relatable, and I'm pretty sure you're going to really enjoy them. The first topic is production, so let's get started. Unit 1, chain of production. So by the end, you should be able to define what production is, the different types of industries, and you should be able to differentiate between specialization and division of labor. Also, you should be able to define what commerce is and its branches, and finally the relationship between industries and commerce and the direct services. So let's get started. The chain of production, an important concept which is tested again and again in paper 1 and paper 2. So you should be clear about the definition of production, which is the act of producing or making something that was not there before or was not in the same form. It refers to providing goods and services to satisfy the human needs and wants. Meaning, often they say that production is the creation of a utility, that is making something not so useful now more useful. For example, we can see production taking place here. We can say that maybe cotton fiber was not so useful, but when clothes are made out of it, it's much more useful. That is when production has taken place, that cotton fiber which was not so useful has now become useful for many people. Now, because production takes place to satisfy the human needs and wants, we need to know what needs and wants are. So basically, needs are those goods and services that are essential for living. That is, no human being can live without these essentials like food to eat, water to drink, shelter to live, and clothes to cover yourself and protect from heat or cold. So basically, if these necessities are not fulfilled, you would certainly die. On the other hand, wants are those goods and services which people would like to have but which is not essential for living. So wants are unlimited. Once the needs of people are fulfilled, then they desire more. That is, they want life to become more pleasant and wants to be satisfied. that is maybe fashionable clothes and shoes. This Nike tick is a want. You want a better quality and a fashionable life for yourself. And these things mostly are material wants. That is, at times they are visible, and at times they can be, services such as entertainment, films, or hairdressing, or going for holidays. So these wants can be different for each person. They would differ from parents to their children, from one friend to another friend. And at times, these wants become necessity in some cases as well. For example, if somebody is going out of their house for a job, they need to travel, and that traveling is a necessity for them. So needs and wants are basically needs are specifically essential for your living, while you can certainly live without your wants, but life is always more comfortable when these wants are fulfilled. Types of industries. So production can be broken down into several industries and activities. So the first stage in any productive process is the primary or extractive industries. This is concerned with obtaining or extracting natural resources from the earth. These can be exhaustive or non-exhaustive. Then the secondary stage is the secondary production concerned with manufacturing or construction or processing industry. The third stage is the tertiary sector, which is concerned with commercial services or the direct services. We'll be doing all of these in detail as we proceed. Primary production extractive industries. This is the first stage in any production process. It is concerned with obtaining or extracting natural resources from earth, such as minerals, fuels, and raw materials. Pakistan, for example, is most famous in its primary production because we export our primary production products, that is the raw materials. We're very famous with exporting mangoes. Then primary industry is further divided into two kinds, that is exhaustive and non-exhaustive. Please remember one thing, there are many paper 1 questions, that is the MCQs, on these different stages of production. So please make sure that you hear all of them very carefully. So the two types of primary industries are exhaustive. These are industries that make non-renewable resources from nature, like mining, and that's why we say that you should use all the resources in a sustainable way, because most of them are non-renewable. Then there are non-exhaustive, that is the industries that take resources from renewable sources, that is fishing, for example, because that is something that is renewable. Secondary production. Now, in your MCQs paper 1, May June 19, paper 1, you can see there the first MCQ actually is on secondary production. So secondary production is concerned with transformation of raw materials into finished goods, that is the raw materials extracted in the primary production are further transported to the secondary production to produce the goods that we consume. For example, the aircraft or car manufacturer or construction. There's so many things. We can even include stitching, the most famous for clothing industry. There's so many different things that come under the secondary production that you can think of. Moving on, secondary production includes manufacturing, that is, it takes place in a factory that involves many processes. This would include steel making, or car, or clothing, or furniture. Also processing that is where raw materials are changed into semi-manufactured goods, that is the goods that still require some sort of refining, like oil refining, and then it can be consumed. Then we have construction, that involves building or assembling manufactured parts into final product, like making a house or a boat building or road making. Tertiary production, that is the third stage of production, which involves the provision of services. These can be of two kinds, commercial or direct services. Let's discuss them in detail in the next slide. So the commercial or indirect services are concerned with distribution of raw materials from the primary production and the goods from the secondary production to where they are required, or we can say products available to those who want them. So simply, commercial or indirect services make it easy to distribute these goods to those who want them. So we see that these services are transport, then we have banking or insurance or advertising or warehousing. We'll be discussing all of these in detail as we move on. Then we have the direct services, which are concerned with services given directly to the person receiving them. Now, we see that these people, like nurses or lawyers, do not produce goods but provide services, and these services would make people healthy, happy, or more secure, or even amuse them, talking about entertainment. So direct services and the indirect services are service provision. What you need to remember is that when we talk about commercial services or indirect services, these are concerned with the distribution of goods, while when we talk about the direct services, these are simply the services given to an individual person.